Hey, what is going on, guys? My name is LuckyBunz, and in today's video, I'm going to be showing all of you how to check for PvP IVs in Pokemon Go. Now, I've been getting a lot of comments about finding good IV spreads for PvP and just whether or not a specific spread is actually good. Now, despite many veterans already knowing how to find their best rank for PvP IVs, I know a lot of you guys actually don't know what I'm talking about. So, with that being said, we're going to take a look at a resource that is incredibly beneficial, guys. It pretty much does all the work for you, and all you have to do is just know how to read it. So that's what we're going to be covering in today's video. Before we get started though, as always, if you do enjoy it, if you do find it helpful, definitely make sure to hit that like button down below. I'd really appreciate it. And if you do want to see more of these tutorial videos in the future, make sure to hit that subscribe button as well. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. Now, the resource that I'm going to be using in this video is going to be GoStadium.club. Now, I will have a link to this resource in the description below, that way you guys can click on it and kind of go through this at the same time I'm going through it, and ultimately this is going to be your go-to resource when it comes to finding PvP IVs. Now, the reason this website is actually safe compared to other third-party IV checkers is because you access it through a website rather than downloading it as an app on your phone. See, the thing about downloading the apps on your phone is that Niantic can actually data mine your phone under the terms of service. You actually all agreed to that when you signed the terms of service for Pokemon Go, or at least when you created an account, you agreed to the terms of service, therefore allowing Niantic to data mine your phone, ultimately finding the IV checkers on your phone, and potentially in some cases issuing bans. So this one is going to be safe, guys. You won't get any bans for using this website. Once again, you can do this on your computer too, and you can manually type in the IVs. The thing about third-party IV checkers that you download on your phone is that they're going to pull the information from the game directly sometimes. Now, I do understand that PokeGenie, another third-party app, does pull it from screenshots, therefore you could actually have a second device and just kind of send the screenshots over to that device, and you would be a lot safer doing that as well. But there are other apps like CalciIV that actually just pull from the game directly, even from the encounter screen, which I would definitely not recommend using. Anyways, so once you've gotten into GoStadium, go ahead and click on the Resources tab right here, and then click on IV Spread. This will take you to the IV calculator. Now from here, you have the option to select whatever Pokemon you want. You can go ahead and type it in. In this case, let's go ahead and type in Shiftry because that was our community day yesterday, and so I do have a lot of Seedot that I do want to check. Right here in the middle, you can select from Great, Ultra, or Master League, and then on the right-hand side, it has the minimum IV, which basically, guys, there's a floor to when you do trades, there's a floor to when you do research tasks, and there's a floor to when you have the wild catches with the weather boost. Now, what exactly does the floor mean? So let me go ahead and explain this in two different scenarios, or actually three different scenarios. We'll talk about the raid/hatch/research floor. So that is going to be 10 all around, guys. So 10 attack, 10 defense, 10 HP is going to be your floor, which means you can't go lower than that when you actually try and get Pokemon from raids, from hatches, or from research tasks. Your floor is always going to be 10. So 10 attack is ultimately going to be your lowest, 10 defense is ultimately going to be your lowest, 10 HP is ultimately going to be your lowest. Now, that's only from raids, hatches, and research tasks though. When you're catching Pokemon in the wild, the floor is going to be 0. With the weather boost though, it can actually boost it all the way up to 5. Now, it does tend to vary, it just kind of depends. It's kind of like a random algorithm, but in a similar sense to where if you're level 30 and you can catch up to level 35 Pokemon with the weather boost, the floor of the IVs works in a similar fashion. Hopefully that does make sense. If it doesn't, definitely make sure to leave me a comment down below and I will try to further explain this to you. And when it comes down to trading with friends, you have good friend, great friend, ultra friend, best friend. Respectively, as you increase your friendship, the floor for your IVs is going to increase as well. Now, ideally, guys, you would want to trade with good or great friends simply because that way you would have a better chance of getting lower attack compared to if you were trading with best friends, where the floor is actually going to be at 4. So the lowest attack you could possibly get would be 4 if you are trading with a best friend. That's not always the worst case scenario, but ideally in most scenarios you are going to want to have 0 attack, preferably. And then finally, guys, in the second row you have the attack IV, defense IV, and HP IV stats that you're going to input manually. Once again, this is preferably the way that I like to calculate my IVs just because I know it's going to be a lot safer. It's not pulling any data from anywhere, you're manually inputting the info. Now that you guys know what this information means, let's go ahead and run some data on some of my potential Seedots that I got yesterday. So let's scroll through right here. We have a lot of Seedot that I need to go through. Thankfully, I did mark some of them, so we can kind of do this a little bit faster in that regard. But ideally, guys, whenever you have like community days, you want to go through and you want to just click on the appraisal button, swipe right or swipe left, and then just kind of go through and look for Pokemon that are going to have high HP and high defense and low attack. So for example, this Pokemon right here, it has 6 attack and it has 13 HP and 13 defense. If I scroll over a couple more, we find this one right here that has 5 attack and it has 13 defense and 12 HP. Now we know that these are going to be good PvP IVs, but we don't know which one is ultimately going to be the best. This is where this IV calculator actually comes into play. So let's go ahead and type in these IVs right here. So we have the 5 attack, 13 defense, and 12 HP. So it's a drop-down menu, very simple guys. So that's going to be our IV spread on this Seedot, but do remember that we're going for a shift tree in Great League, not a Seedot. If you leave it on Seedot, you're going to get some ridiculous number because it's trying to calculate what you would be actually using as a Seedot, not a shift tree. So make sure that you're typing in the Pokemon that you're ultimately going to be using. It does take a bit to actually pull all of this data. Obviously, you can see everything on the bottom right now, and there's quite a lot of data, not to mention a lot of players do use this website. So now that the IVs have come through, we can see that it is going to be a rank 1491, level 23.5. The CP is going to come out to 1472 once we get it up to under 1500. The attack is going to be 132.75, defense is going to be 86.78, stamina or HP is going to be 141, and then finally its stat product, basically its max potential is going to be 1,624,299, and its percentage according to its max strength on PvP IVs is going to be 95.55%. Now the cool thing about this website guys is that it will highlight a different color whether or not the Pokemon is going to be good, bad, or average. In this case, it's going to be average. Obviously, a rank 1491 isn't that good. It's not terrible. Obviously, you guys can tell that it does have some potential here, but it is not something that you want to ultimately power up. So with that being said, though, we can go ahead and change this Seedot. We'll just call it rank 1491. This way we can remember when we come back to it later. And we're going to try and obviously find something better than this. So we have this Seedot right here, right? This is going to be 264 CP, its attack stat is going to be 4, its defense stat is going to be 12, and its HP stat is going to be 15. So this actually seems like a lot better, to be honest. And guys, when it comes down to it, the lower attack that you have, the higher level your Pokemon is ultimately going to be able to get to. Now additionally, this website does also show you the ranks for the best PvP IV spreads underneath the rank that you've already typed in. So obviously our rank is 1491, but the ideal rank 1 would be a level 24.5, so 1 level higher than ours, 0 attack, 14 defense, and 11 stamina or 11 HP, however you want to call it. Of course, it's going to have a CP of 1500 on the dot, although that doesn't really make a difference. What's more important is going to be the IV spread and the level of the Pokemon. But here you can also see that the attack stat is going to be a little bit lower than ours. The defense is going to be about 3 higher, and the stamina is also going to be about 3 higher. And the product is ultimately going to have about 70,000 more than our Shiftry at 1491. Now, this isn't always going to be the best IV spread, guys, and this is where you're going to have to kind of make a judgment call, because if you take a look at rank 2, for example, right? You're going to have a Pokemon with more stamina. Now the reason for this is because it has 14 stamina instead of 11. So rank 1, rank 2, basically anything within like the top 100 I would have to say, maybe even the top 50, you can be a little bit more conservative there. They're all going to have various advantages to their IV spread. So for example, there's a CMP tie, right? So if someone has 0 attack and then you have 3 attack, you're going to win the CMP tie. There's an advantage to having a little bit higher attack. And so as I just mentioned, guys, it is going to be a judgment call on your part. You have to ultimately figure out what is going to be the best IV spread for you, and was the weather boost factored in, because personally for me, yesterday the sunny weather boost was going on the entire time, which made it impossible for me to actually get a 0 attack IV Seedot, which means there's no possible way that I could have got a rank 1, but that does not mean that all hope is lost, guys, because as you can see, between rank 1 to 10, there are a couple IV spreads that actually have 2 attack, 3 attack, and 1 attack. So having 0 attack isn't always the most essential thing that you need. It is a factor for sure, but it's not going to make or break your Pokemon. There's still a lot of opportunity in different regards when it comes down to it. Of course, as I mentioned earlier on, or at least as I mentioned in my PvP IV video where I kind of break down how the IVs work, the higher level of the Pokemon that you want, at least when it goes up to level 30, is going to make a significant difference in your performance. So for example, the Seedot that I just ran, the 1491, it's level 23.5. but the rank 1 is level 24.5. Do you guys see how it's one level higher? But that makes a huge difference when it comes down to the stat product. That's like 70,000 difference, guys, which is actually a pretty big deal, to be honest. It's definitely a pretty big deal. So this one is going to be a little bit better than our last one. Now, it does help to name these Pokemon, guys. Make sure that you are naming them as you continue to search them through, because when you go back and you look for them later, it'll be a lot easier to kind of point out and be like, okay, here's my rank 1356, here's my rank 1491, etc. And then you can go through and transfer whichever ones you obviously don't want. So I've already gone ahead and showed you guys two different examples when it comes down to looking up the PvP IVs of a Pokemon. Now, guys, I'm serious when I say this. You want to make sure that you're favoriting every single potentially good PvP IV Pokemon, because what I'm about to show you, I did not expect to be as good as it actually was. So here's my Great League Shiftry that I was able to get yesterday. This is going to be a rank, well, I'll save it for the video right now. I don't want to spoil it, but you guys can see right here, it has 5 attack, 14 defense, and it has 9 HP. So this doesn't really seem that optimal, especially when you compare it to the Shiftry that we just checked right now. And I want you guys to see what happens right here, because this is something that I did not expect to see yesterday, and I was incredibly surprised. But it's also a big point that I'm trying to make in this video. Make sure you're favoriting everything that has potential. Everything that has potential, guys. Okay, so ignoring the ad right here, we have a rank 98 Shiftry. Do you see the big difference here, guys? Like, it is insane that this actually ended up coming up around this area. Now, here's a big reason for it. Do you see the level of the Pokemon? The other levels were actually level 23.5. This Pokemon, this Shiftry, is actually going to get to level 24, which is half a level higher, which I know that doesn't seem like it makes a big difference, but trust me, guys, it makes a huge difference. It really does. CP as well, not really a big factor. Once again, it really does come down to the level of the Pokemon and the IV spread. And the overall stat product for this rank 98 Shiftry is going to be 1,671,247. So this is going to be about 50,000 higher, I believe. And if you look at the percent of maximum strength, you can see that it's 98.32%, which is actually really, really solid. Now, you know that this IV spread is going to be good, but you know that it's not going to be the best. So here's where it comes down to the judgment call that you have to make on your own. You have to decide, hey, like, is it possible for me to get a rank 1 to 10 Shiftry? Is that even possible? Am I going to get it? Or is this a limited release where I only have a certain amount of time to evolve and I kind of have to just pick the best one because it's going to have an exclusive move? In my scenario, I obviously had the weather boost, which means I wasn't going to get anywhere between like rank 1 to 10. I mean, maybe rank like 8 or 7 because I had 3 attack, and that's just maybe. Ultimately though, the likelihood that I was going to get somewhere between the earlier ranks, like anything lower than rank 98, was pretty unlikely. So I kind of decided, hey, this is actually pretty good. 98% of its maximum strength. Stat product is honestly really, really close to the maximum potential that it would normally get. Stamina is a little bit lower than what I would have liked. That's definitely something I might regret later on in the future, but at the end of the day, guys, when it really comes down to it, this is going to be a good Pokemon that is going to be worth powering up. Of course, these are my standards though. If your standards are a lot higher than mine and you're going for like all rank 1 to 10 Pokemon, that's completely fine as well. I totally get that, but I do want you guys to keep in mind that in open leagues like Go Battle League, the IV spread of your Pokemon is going to come second, and the matchup of your Pokemon is going to come first. So at the end of the day, having like a rank 1 compared to a rank 98 isn't going to be the biggest difference. And if you actually think about it, I'm going to win the CMP tie anyways, so in a weird way, it actually benefits me to have more attack on my Shiftry compared to having a lower attack, because when it comes down to a CMP tie, that can make or break the match. It's actually happened a ton with Azumarill. And so as I previously mentioned, guys, it does come down to a judgment call decision, and at the end of the day, you decide whether or not it's good enough for you or if you want to try and get something better. In my case, I could only get Bullet Seed during this community day window. If not, I would have to wait until December to get it again, and I just didn't think that was worth it. Of course, I'm personally happy with the rank 98. I definitely think that is good enough. Now, with that being said though, that's pretty much everything I needed to go over. Hopefully you guys do understand how this works. If you have any questions at all, definitely make sure to leave them down in the comments section below. I will do my best to respond to them and hopefully clarify anything that I maybe might have made a little bit more confusing. I know that does happen sometimes, but hopefully this was pretty clear to understand. If you guys did enjoy this video, if you did find it helpful, please make sure to hit that like button down below. I'd really appreciate it. And once again, if you do want to see more of these tutorial videos in the future, definitely make sure to hit that subscribe button as well and turn on the bell notification. And I will see you all real soon in the next one.